Welcome back to Video Game Trivia. This time on Video Game Trivia, we're talking about another major video game company, Capcom. Capcom was formed as a subsidiary of a bigger electronics company, and as mentioned before, Capcom's name is short for Capsule Computers, which refers to the arcade cabinets that they used to make in their early days. Although the company was officially formed in 1979, they didn't release their first video game until 1984, which was the video game Vulgus, unsurprisingly a space shooter. One of Capcom's early hit games on the NES was Bionic Commando, but the game was rather dramatically changed from the Japanese original. In the original game, the bad guys are a neo-Nazi group whose goal is no more and no less than to resurrect the Führer himself, Adolf Hitler. The game was very thoroughly censored, removing any swastikas and any other Nazi-like symbols, and this was done due to the content requirements by Nintendo. One part of the game, though, was mysteriously not censored, which was the finale, where indeed you fight the head of Adolf Hitler, and once you beat the game, you actually see the head explode in rather gory detail. When playing Gunstar Hero, if you ever got the feeling like the game was just a mixture of Contra and Mega Man, then you wouldn't be far off, because the company that made the game Treasure was indeed formed from former employees of both Konami and Capcom. Another company formed by former Capcom employees was SNK, who in the early 90s began to make a major name for themselves in the arcade business and actually became direct competitors to Capcom. A lot of their early fighting games, though, received a lot of criticism and were occasionally considered just flat-out Street Fighter clones. This criticism was specifically directed at their Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting game series, which eventually led to the creation of Dan, who was intended as a parody of the lead characters of both of these game series. Capcom has never shied away from adapting its games into other visual media. Not only has Mega Man appeared as a guest star on Captain N the Game Master, he also had his own cartoon show, a short 3-part OVA anime series, as well as a full anime series based on the Battle Network series. Both an American and a Japanese animated series based off of Street Fighter, both an American and a Japanese animated series based on Darkstalkers, 2 live-action Street Fighter movies, and both live-action and animated films based off the Resident Evil franchise. Phew! And finally, let's talk about Resident Evil. As discussed in a previous video game trivia episode, the original Japanese title for the game was Biohazard. However, when the game was being localized in North America, Capcom was forced to change the name because another game called Biohazard had come out only 2 years previous. As well, a band by the same name happened to be relevant at the time. The name Resident Evil was one of several suggested by Capcom employees, and it was eventually selected through an internal vote. The name wasn't the only thing changed about the Western version of the game. The now notorious live-action intro of the game was actually censored in parts in order to remove some of the more gratuitous, gory shots, as well as to remove scenes of Chris Redfield smoking a cigarette. And that's all for me for now. We didn't talk about any Mega Man related trivia this time around because the next episode of Video Game Trivia is going to be all about Capcom's Blue Bomber. I'm Hannu, TheHande Mäkinen. See you on the next one.